Ladies and gentlemen, friends all around the world, avid footy ball watchers, welcome back to your favorite and the best, yes, I said the best, footy podcast on the internet. Another episode of Touchline Banter coming at you. One of your hosts, Cheyenne Karimi, alongside my good friend and co-host, Ruben Chavez, also known as Ray Chavo on Twitter, if you follow him and see his rants and all of his nice calling out posts on Twitter.
Yeah.
Today's Thursday. It's a couple days after, well, it's one day after the Champions League results. So for this episode, we're going to, for the viewers, we're just going to go through basically all the results that happen, give some touching points, talk about the keynotes in the game. And then basically the last half of the episode, we're going to talk about Real Madrid and why they are doo-doo at the moment. And it was not good. Ruben, how you been? How's your week? How you feeling?
Pretty bad week, obviously, because of the Real Madrid game. It's one thing to lose. It's another to lose in that fashion. But obviously, let's not spoil the end of the episode this early. Besides that, I've been okay. Looking for a new apartment in Toronto. So that's always a headache. But, just keeping my head up. How about yourself? How have you been?
Not bad. Obviously, tough result. We'll talk about it later. But it was good. Champions League games were fun to watch. We had some good games going on. I do have to go on a small mini rant, completely unrelated this morning. A little bit of story. So for the viewers who know, me and Ruben we work in the serving industry. I'm sure Ruben has. I've also had like other customer service jobs. I worked at like our Canadian Tire, like a Canadian warehouse, like tool store. I did auto service, stuff like that. So I respect people who work with like customers and deal with customer service and stuff like that, like especially people who work at like fast food spots and like McDonald's, Burger King, etc. So before the pod I went to Tim Hortons. If we have any viewers outside of Canada, it's like the Starbucks of Canada, coffee shop, serves food, blah blah.
They have Tim Hortons everywhere now. Like even when I was in Europe,
that's true.
Tim Hortons,
like in Ireland.
So everyone should know what Tim Hortons is. But yes,
exactly. So I just went to get some food. I wanted to get a farmer's wrap, and I asked for like a farmer's wrap. It's like a breakfast wrap. I asked for like extra bacon with it because I like bacon. Kill me, gains, protein. Anyway, I was like, yeah, can I get extra bacon? And she's like, extra bacon, and I'm like, yeah, extra bacon.
There was no extra bacon.
There was no bacon.
Oh my God!
I get home and there's no bacon. And like, it's like a 5-minute drive. I can go back. I'm not doing that. So, Tim Hortons, if we can just coordinate, I get some better speakers or something in the drive-through. I don't know what's going on. It's actually happened to me like a few times. I asked for like everything bagel, like light cream cheese. I get like all the cream cheese they had. And I'm like, damn, like I said light. But, it's a tough job. I respect the people and the men and women who work there. But just can I get my order? That's all I have. That's all I ask for.
I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Yeah.
The fact that they repeated it and then had no bacon on it makes that story perfect.
Yeah. She's like, no, fuck you and your bacon. Anyway, let's get back on topic. The first result we're going to talk about from the one of the games on Tuesday, Inter Milan beat Bayern Munich 2-1. This was a pretty good game, in my opinion, to watch.
Super good. It was probably the most... you know what? No, it was one of the more entertaining ones, though. It was
I would say it's the closest between all of them, like with the most back and forth, I felt like. But it was a good game.
For sure.
Yeah. Inter won this 1-2-1, as I said. Fratesi and Lautaro Martinez got on the score sheet for Inter. And for Bayern, it was Thomas Muller, who actually didn't start the game. And apparently for Bayern, like they told him he's out and surplus to requirements. But I'll let you start off this one. Give me your thoughts. What did you think of the game?
Well, we've both been on the Bayern are going to get knocked out by Inter train. Like we haven't really done a deep dive, partly because Madrid have been so poor that we've been focused on that more than anything on the pods recently. And to be fair, Madrid have been kind of in the midst of big games, right? Like we had to talk about what happened in the Champions League and then, heading into this game against Arsenal, which I think people would have said was going to be one of the more closely contested ties with how strong Arsenal have been the past couple years. But we both were picking Inter to be a problem and to maybe even make it to the finals. And I still believe on that side of the bracket, they're the best team. And you kind of saw why. Like both teams were down a couple players. For Bayern, you really saw how much they missed Musiala, especially because Harry Kane had a couple opportunities. And like, look, I have a friend who's a big Spurs fan. He's a big Harry Kane guy, and sometimes I've razzed him because I believe people put Harry Kane at a high level, despite him never having a trophy haul. And I understand he played for Spurs, and like I understand his goal uh, record, but like he could have asked for a move at any time. And I do think that there have been moments where in the biggest times he kind of disappears a bit and he hasn't really come through. Like I think about the Champions League final against Liverpool, obviously like that early penalty changed the complexion of the game, but the Spurs never really threatened, and he was a big part of that team. I think about the World Cup where he missed the pen against France, and he's usually a really good penalty taker. And then in this game, he had a couple chances. It would be harsh to call any of them like super, super easy, but there are chances that a striker, especially a world class striker playing in a Champions League quarterfinal, should put away. But that's the problem. Inter are a really good defensive team. They're tough to break down, and Bayern have leaked goals on the other end. Vincent Company, I think he's been made to look better than he is as a coach because of the fact that Leverkusen have tailed off. The Bundesliga is not very competitive this year, and they've made it to the quarter finals of the Champions League. But if we look at how they got there, the group stage was not super impressive all the way through. Then they had to beat Celtic to get here, which is not, no disrespect to Celtic, it's a historic club. Obviously, like they have a big history, but resources wise, a club in the Scottish Prem versus a Bundesliga club, you kind of always knew how it was going to go. So yeah, it was a really contested game. I thought Inter played really well. Lautaro's goal was amazing. That outside of the boot strike,
Beautiful.
crazy. But give credit to Ram for his run and like stopping the ball. I'm
and
sure
the pass was amazing.
Like it was like, yeah. So I think Inter are really good value. I know that Bayern's not out of the tie. You would say out of all the games, this is the one that's still most likely to have a twist in how it ends. But going back home to the San Siro with a goal lead, with a team this well drilled, it's going to be really tough for Bayern. And I don't know if Company has the tactical know-how to get the best out of them. That's what I think. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I thought up until like before Inter scores, Bayern were, I would say, the more threatening team. Like Inter would still have chances, but they were kind of playing mostly on the counterattack. They were very well defensively drilled, but just I felt like just the way the game was going, Bayern was probably going to score first. But obviously a beautiful counterattack, beautiful touch from and pass from Thuram, and Lautaro was a great striker when he's on form and finishes just a top bin class finish. With the whole Bayern thing, I respect Company as a player. Even the whole time they signed him as a coach, I was kind of like, okay, like show me what you got. Let's see it. Like at Burnley, he was never really that great in my opinion. Sean Dyche, if you ask him.
Yeah, that's all I could think of.
Yeah. Sean Dyche is just probably just laughing so hard after this result.
Sean Dyche is like, I would have won that game.
Exactly. He's like, I would have won. I was just surprised by, like, yes, absolutely. If Musiala's in this game, I think the game is a lot different. 100%. I was just surprised. Like, I understand they basically told Thomas Muller, like, yeah, we're good. Thanks. We're going in the youth direction. You're surplus to requirements. But given that you had to start Guerrero, who is, like, versatile, but I wouldn't really say he's, like, an attacking mid or midfielder. Like, he's kind of a midfielder, yeah, I would say. I was like, really? Like, why not just start him? Like, it's the Champions League. It's the last couple games. You know how clinical he can be in the box. Like, I was never a big fan of Muller just because of the way he plays, but I respect his talent as a straight out like poacher in the box and finding the attacking positions. And yeah, I mean, that's what happened. Came on and scored and tied the game up for them. But then obviously Inter come back and a great goal from Fratesi on a counterattack. And yeah, they look strong. I think again, yeah, it begs the question: how strong is Inter's defense? Like Eric Dyer and Kim Min Jae. I don't know how much I trust that. I know the defense has always been like shaky in general. I know like Upamecano hasn't really fit. They sold De Ligt, so like it seems like they're still trying to find that like stalwart like they had with kind of like Mats Hummels and players of the past. But to Inter, to touch on them, yeah, just incredibly well defensively drilled. Huge respect to Inzaghi. I think he had the game plan like perfect. He didn't even have like one of his most important players starting with in DeMarco and his left wing back. Darmian, I think was on. Oh no, Augusto was on the left side. Darmian was on the right. But yeah, they did a great job. They look great. Thuram is like really good as well, and yeah, like I like Inter. It's not just because they have a Persian. I'm Persian for those of the player in Mehdi Taremi, who apparently has been terrible on Inter. I don't know why, and he wasn't even on the bench.
He's still there.
He's still there. He's still there. Yeah, but yeah, credit to Inter. Great team. They played it incredibly well. And yeah, I think it's going to be tough. Obviously, it's only one goal, and in the Champions League, anything's possible. But just given the second half, especially how it went, and just the way Inter's defense is and just their injuries and stuff like that. If they get Musiala back, it's possible, I think, to give them more of a chance. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning Inter in this one.
I do think the fear, too, is like Bayern are going to have to chase a goal at one point, and their defense, which already kind of leaks a bit of goals, is going to be hit on the break, right? Like the counterattack is going to be there for Inter. So while it is possible, and I don't think anybody is saying that this one is over, but it's going to be tough sledding. Yeah, for me, that's what those were some of the big moments. I'm glad you mentioned Guerrero. I know a lot of people were kind of questioning whether he should have started in that position in the middle or Eze, because people really like Eze, what he's been doing. And Eze started in the middle there in the international break and did really well, but Company had his own ideas. I don't think Guerrero played badly for what it's worth. I just wonder, do you want your best players in the position where they're able to influence the game the most? Like, that's probably a good way to go. We can move on.
Do you want to go to...
Well,
do you want to go to Barca first, or do you want to do
That's
PSG?
what I was going to say. Let's just do the Barca first.
Okay,
it's quick. Like, they blitzed Dortmund. Yeah. This is a Dortmund side that has not been very good this year. We're kind of seeing the club model that Dortmund had for a lot of years was to get young talent, kind of develop them and get the most out of them, and then ride that to heights in Europe and in the Bundesliga. Somewhere along the line in recent years, they've kind of targeted some older players. Some of the signings that they've made on younger players haven't exactly hit. And this is kind of what we're seeing. This is a squad that doesn't really know what it is. I don't know if the manager is getting the most out of those players or if the players just aren't at the level of where they are. It's crazy to think that this team was in the Champions League final just a year ago. And that they, pushed Madrid to like kind of the brink. Like there was a couple, like Courtois had to make a couple big saves. But they've definitely fallen off. But the crazy part is, and again, like I got into it a bit with my friend Peter, whose name will come up in a bit because he's a big Villa fan. Because we have a group chat with me, him, and our friend Jake, who's the Spurs fan I mentioned earlier. And Jake was like, "Is Barcelona the best team in Europe?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. Like, I don't like. I would have PSG and Inter like pretty comfortably over them. Like, I don't." And I think you saw some of that in that game. Like, their defense is not imperious. Dortmund had chances. If they had better quality, they finished some of those chances. And this game goes a little bit pear-shaped. Now, what Barcelona do have, and I'll give them credit for, their front three is clicking and playing extremely well for each other. And they're working hard, which, like, again, we're saying things that are going to come home to roost in the second half of this podcast when we talk about our team. But that is the difference. That Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and Robert Lewandowski are not ducking the hard work. They're not shirking their defensive responsibilities, and that they're playing together. If you look at how many goals they've scored, the goals are spread out. Like Rafinha, Lewandowski, even in this game, all of them got on the score sheet. Like they're playing really well. They're playing very fluid. We got to give Hansi Flick credit. He's made this into a very attacking, very dynamic team. I don't think that they're going to win the Champions League, but it certainly seems now that they're in a great position to win the league. And obviously the Copa del Rey is going to be in a few weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But this is a different Barcelona side. It'll be very sad for Barcelona fans when they have to sell Rafinha to comply with financial fair play rules. But enjoy it while you have it for another couple months. Because let us not forget how mismanaged that club is. But yeah, like the game, it was always going to go this way. Again, like people can say that it's like bitterness, but like this Barcelona side dropped points to Betis on the weekend. You know what I mean? Like they're not unbeatable. They're not perfect, and they're certainly not the best team in Europe. I think they got very fortunate in their draw. They played Benfica first, and now they played Dortmund. I was looking, the only big teams you could say they've beaten, Real Madrid, obviously. I don't consider Atletico a big team, but they drew them once, and then they beat them another time. Technically, they drew them twice if you count the Copa del Rey. The only reason I'm saying that is because Atletico just are allergic to winning when it counts, but whatever. And then the only other big team they played Bayern early on in the group stage. I looked through them. Those are the games where you're like, oh, that's an opponent of a commensurate level who they may not be expected to beat and roll over. We've already touched on how this Bayern is certainly not the best version of Bayern, and how Kompany's not a great coach. And then Madrid have had their ups and downs. But it's not like Barca has beaten a Liverpool, Arsenal, fucking PSG, Inter, like anybody of real note and weight. Like, so we'll see if they can keep getting away with their high line. That's what I have to say. A lot more negative than I'm sure people would expect from a team that won 4-0, but it's against a Dortmund side that is done. And I mean, the good thing for Barca, they can rotate next week, right? Like they can play this in the league with all their guys. And then next Tuesday or whenever they play, I think they do play Tuesday because it flips. They can put in some replacements in the bench because I don't see Dortmund overturning 4 goals. Like I just don't.
Yeah. After the Madrid result, we'll probably post like some pics of me and Ruben's chat, but we were like, yeah, like we need a result from Dortmund, but I think either one of us was really like, yeah, that's probably going to happen. And I was like, yeah, maybe they need to get Marco Reus out of LA Galaxy. And honestly, if they probably did, given his age and all his injuries, they probably would have been better. Yeah, I don't really think Dortmund, unfortunately, stood a chance. They had chances, yes, and obviously, like I agree with Ruben that the Barcelona's defense is really not as solid as they'd want it to be, or as like a top one of the best teams in Europe you'd want to be. They started Inigo Martinez and Kubarsi. They played well, obviously, but they're much better there when Araujo plays. But yeah, I think, I basically just agree with everything that Ruben says. I would say that they are one of the best teams in Europe on the offensive end. It's a caveat. Sure. So offensively, they're one of the best teams in Europe because, just like you said, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and Lewandowski, they do the work on both sides of the pitch. Unfortunately, the Real Madrid players didn't this last game. We'll get to it. But yeah, they look great. They look incredibly fluid. Their midfield looked fine. They had Fermin Lopez, Pedri, and De Jong playing. We know what Ruben thinks about Pedri. I thought they were good. Especially De Jong. I think De Jong's kind of come into his own again and looks like he's finding his footing under Hansi Flick.
De Jong, a player that I must remind everybody, Barcelona was begging to leave the club, and the only reason he's there is because he wanted to be there. They wanted to sell him. And you know who else I goes for? Rafinha.
Yeah, exactly. So, you listen. We try to be as unbiased as possible. So we're going to give Barcelona their flowers as quickly as possible in this. So, yeah, they played well. When the high line works for Barcelona, they play incredibly well. I think, that is a key point that I was actually going to make as well. When you look at the teams that Barcelona has played, absolutely, they have probably had a reasonably easy run to where they are. And yes, when you look at the big teams that they faced, they really haven't done well, aside from Real Madrid. If you look at Madrid's road to where they are, they had to play City in the knockout qualifiers. They had to play Atleti, and now they played Arsenal. So it's been a tougher road. And yeah, again, I just read another article the other day that apparently like Danny Olmo is they're having issues of getting him registered again. We know, yeah, there's rumors of Rafinha going on. So yeah, while it's there, enjoy it. I'll give credit where credit is due. An amazing offensive team. I don't trust them defensively. That's why I would say absolutely, just as a whole, cohesive, I would probably take Inter or PSG to win the Champions League, given the way results are now, at least. But yeah, Barcelona played well. We can move on to the next result, I think.
Yeah, it's Aston Villa PSG.
Yeah,
I had this
great
game
Yeah.
on the main screen because I didn't want to watch Barca on the main screen, obviously.
Really? You didn't have Barca on the main screen? I'm shocked.
I knew what was going to happen, so that was relegated to the laptop. But
yeah.
I was keeping a close eye on both. What did you think? Because this game was genuinely pretty fun, and there was a lot of amazing moments of quality.
Yeah. It was a really good back and forth game. To put an analogy on it, it's like, have you seen Creed, like the first one with Michael? I kind of view it like that. It was like Aston Villa is Adonis Creed, so they're that up and coming kid with talent, but unfortunately, PSG or the other guy who I can't remember his name. And yes, like Aston Villa landed blows and they didn't play badly by any chance, but just the difference in quality was what pushed PSG over.
For sure.
So yeah, like, in that title fight in Creed, you see them, he loses out by like a decision, but he fights well. I think this was the same thing for Aston Villa. They played very well. They had great chances. But damn, PSG's attack, they scored some bangers, like Desiree Doué's goal. If you haven't seen it, go look at it. Kvaratskhelia, like FIFA Street 2, like straight on the GameCube type shit. That's aging us. That's what the games me and Ruben played.
Oh man, that game was sick.
Yeah, exactly. And even Nuno Mendes, who by far, in my opinion, not just because of the goal, but just had an amazing game. I think he's on form and maybe even talent. If he's coming into his own and feeling that potential, he's probably the best left back in the world right now. I think that's a question to be had. PSG looked great. Again, Vitinha, amazing game. Madrid, if we're looking for another Kroos, Modric type person, hey, we haven't paid technically a transfer fee. I don't know
if PSG wants to sell us anybody.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, give us like Mbappe and Vinny and like 100 million for like Vitinha or something.
Hey, if you talk to some fans after this game, they would be willing to do that.
Yeah, they might, honestly. But yeah, credit to Aston Villa as well. They played a great game in my opinion. Just the difference in quality was shown. Morgan Rogers, the whole team goal that Morgan Rogers finished off, it was great. I do think that, especially because it's 3-1 now, it's a 2-goal difference. Yes, they are going back to Villa. I just think that PSG probably has the tie in their hands. But I think it's going to be a great second leg, and I think it's going to be back and forth again. But man, yeah, if I'm picking a team, not Real Madrid, given the way the results went, I'm picking PSG to win Champions League. They look great.
To me, they look like the runaway favorites, and I think you nailed every part of it. So we can move on to the next one as quickly as possible. I'll just add a little bit here and there. The team goal by Villa was really good. I agree. I thought they played pretty well. Obviously, their goal was a bit against the run of play. They were soaking up some pressure, but that was always going to be the plan. They're away at the Parc des Princes, and I think Emery knew, like, if we can get away with this with a draw or even just a 1-goal deficit, that's great. Like, we'll take that. And even his changes after the second goal went in, he went a bit more defensive, and it was clear he was just trying to wrap his hand and be like, let's just get out of here with the least amount of blood spilled possible. Unfortunately for him, the third goal goes in, and now it's going to make the return leg, or the home leg, a lot harder. Villa Park is a fortress, this is the first year in Europe in a long time, but they've won this competition before. Some of those fans were not born yet. Some of them are a lot older than they were when they were in Europe all those years ago. But I do think that place will be rocking, and they'll bring the noise. So if there's a hope, it's the fact that they're going back home. But yeah, speaking on the quality, Matty Cash was on skates that whole first half. They had to take him off because Kvaratskhelia was ruining him, and so was Due, and and then they put on Disasi, and it didn't go any better for him. Like, he got skinned. That Due goal was insane. Like, look, the agenda of the anti-Emmy Martinez, there's a reason he's in my overrated. But that first goal, he had nothing to do there. Like, he got frozen to the line because it was placed perfectly. It was and like every time Due got the ball, he was doing some FIFA Street's the best way to put it. Like, he had a turn in the middle of the pitch, and then he split two defenders, and he just couldn't get a good shot off. I think the ball got caught in his feet, and I was like, if that had gone in, the Parc des Princes would have exploded. But Kvaratskhelia also had a great game. His goal, he took it with a lot of pace. It was a rocket of a shot. And I stand by this, like, near post, a taller goalkeeper, a better goalkeeper gets a hand on it. Emmy Martinez is a fraud. I don't care.
Yeah, on the Due goal, like, the commentator that on the DAZN broadcast, he was like something like, amazing shot to beat one of the greatest keepers in the world. I was like, I agree with the first part of that. Not so sure about.
I know exactly. Yeah, I felt the same way. And
Pause.
And then the third goal, again, like, great goal, but Martinez got completely sat down by a left back. Like, I don't know. That's not my goat. But my friend Peter was very upset that I was saying that. And I was like, I just want people to stop. It's because of that comment. Like, I wouldn't have been so hard on him if the DAZN commentator hadn't been like one of the greatest goalkeepers in the world. Like, by who? By whose metric are we talking about? But the last thing I'll say on PSG is, like, again, their defense can sometimes be shaky. We've seen it in Ligue 1. They've allowed a lot of goals. But again, their front three, they work hard, they play together, and, like, look at Dembele. Dembele has been the scapegoat pretty much everywhere he's gone since he left for Barca. He was supposed to be the Neymar replacement way back in the day. He wasn't obviously at that level at the time, or if you want to look at the real cracks at Barcelona, maybe the management or the team around him wasn't good enough for him to play at his best. Goes back to PSG, and again, when he was there, a lot of negativity was going his way as well, as being inconsistent, not at his best. Now Mbappe's gone, Neymar's gone, Messi's gone, and look how good he looks. He looks good because he's just he has a bit more freedom in his role. He's working hard. He's got Due and Kvaratskhelia, who are amazing. And, like, they had Colomwani on the bench, who is also a great player. Gonzalo Ramos didn't play, and he's also a player who's shown some flashes. So this is a really deep team attacking-wise. Yeah, I think they're the favorites for the Champions League, and it'll be so funny. Not for us, because obviously we're Madrid fans and we want Mbappe to win it here, but it'll be so funny just as a general football watcher if the year that Mbappe leaves, they win the Champions League. It might be the funniest outcome that could happen. Sadly, knowing what I know about Champions League finals, they'll play Inter. Inter will park the bus, Jose Mourinho style. Lautaro will score a worldie. It'll be 1-0. We'll take that back to the San Siro. But PSG fans should be very happy. This team that they have is exciting. Kvaratskhelia, again, like, talk about what ifs. If Madrid didn't have currently 3 left wingers they're trying to play out together, Kvaratskhelia is a huge Real Madrid fan. He wanted to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah. He
just, Vinicius was there, and then they wanted Mbappe, and the chips fall where they do, but it's a real sliding doors moment.
One thing I wanted to add, I forgot to mention it, just backtracking on the Barca Dortmund thing. There is one point I wanted to make, and it goes back to the quality of teams that Barcelona are playing. You mentioned it, you touched on it, that this is obviously not a Dortmund of the past. I was reading a thread. It was like a huge, like a bunch of like thread pages on Instagram, and I'll see if I can find it. I wish I saved it, but I'll see if I can pull it up again. It was basically explaining why Dortmund has fallen off so hard. And to summarize it, the person who posted this was basically saying that they haven't been able to hit or find those shrewd transfers that they did in the past. So to replace Lewandowski, they found Aubameyang. To replace Dembele, they found Sancho, et cetera, et cetera. apparently there was their transfer director had like a big falling out with Thomas Tuchel at the time, and then he quit or got fired or something. And then now, when you look at the team, even Dortmund fans are probably saying the only player who's been a hit for them has been Schlotterbeck, and he didn't even play in this game. So I think that's a really, really key thing. Again, that speaks on the quality of teams that Barcelona has faced. Because if you look at this team, like, again, no disrespect to Dortmund, but aside from like Emre Can, Brandt, and Adeyemi, I don't even know any of these players. Oh, and Kobel. Like, I don't know these players who
No,
they're
it's a
starting.
lot of
Like,
anonymous players.
yeah. So that's one thing I will say. And then quickly, just a funny point. Yeah. If what's local is looking when Inter plays Barcelona, if we were saying if you're Jose Mourinho, you are on the touchline with Inzaghi, the finger point when Inter wins like a 1-0 like hard fought game. But yeah, I think it's time we move on to
let's
the main topic. Anyway, Real Madrid lost a hard fought game against Arsenal. It was a tough result. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm out. No, I wish. This was a tough one. If you want to see us get pissed off and frustrated, and you want to see Real Madrid fans suffer, stick around. If not, then just hop on FC 25 or whatever game you're playing. You want to start? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
It was 3-0 to Arsenal. Credit where it's due. The first two goals were Declan Rice worldies. Like the first
Bangers.
one, like the curve on that ball was crazy. I've heard people say that Courtois positioned the wall a bit poorly, and like while there is argument to say that, genuinely, like that curve on that ball was like it's not quite Roberto Carlos in that one time,
almost
though. It is pretty far out and then curves back in. I don't know any keeper that's saving that. Maybe the wall could have been a bit better. The thing that frustrates about that is that the foul that was committed, I don't think that was a smart foul to take in that area, obviously. But at the same time, like Declan Rice has never scored a free kick goal, I don't think, before that time. So it's not something you can plan for. I know that Arsenal are known for their proficiency on set pieces, but it's not from scoring free kick bangers. It's usually like a cross into the box from a corner. A big man gets their head on it. The second goal was probably even better than the first because it was picture top perfect.
Bin.
Like it's as top bin as you can get. It's like in the if you took your hands and put the ball in the corner, that's where it would have ended up. So really good. And then the third goal, again, is a goal that I don't think happens if the other two hadn't happened and Madrid weren't scrambling for answers. It was tough, the Mikel Merino goal, but it was well hit. And it's crazy to say, but Courtois did have a good game. Up until that point, he had, like, I think if you look at the XG of those goals, it's like 0.004 or something. Like, and Courtois had done really well to really stop a lot of quality chances. So on the Madrid side, obviously the day of, I'm heated, and me and Cheyenne are talking, and I just have this pit in my stomach, and it's still kind of there, obviously, because like it's not just that they lost, it's the way that they lost, and now we have to suffer a week of like whatever, the memes and the trolls and the indignation. People are saying that this is a bigger humiliation than the game against City all those years ago. I don't agree with that, but that's some of the narrative that is going around. So I guess let's talk about what went wrong. A lot of people are putting it at the feet of Carlo Ancelotti, and I do think he deserves a big portion of the blame. I do think people are being unfair, and maybe we'll just go point for point. I'll finish my thing on Ancelotti, and then you can give me your perspective, and we'll dissect the rest as we go. But people keep saying he has no tactics. I don't think that's true. I think he does have a certain shape and a certain idea of what he wanted. It's clear in this game he wanted to get out of the Emirates with a draw or a 1-0 win or a 1-0 loss. He definitely didn't want to go down 3 goals. But I think if they had lost this game 1-0, he would have been very positive about it. They set up pretty defensive. And I think they were looking to control the game. That's why Modric was in the midfield to start, et cetera, et cetera. But having Valverde as a right back is like it's just a waste. So for me, Ancelotti could have picked a better team. I do think his road in Madrid is running really thin. Um, I don't think it's 100% through fault of his own, but the seeds for this have been cultivated since the beginning of the season. We don't give Arda time. We don't give Endrick time. We haven't promoted anyone from Castilla really besides Asensio when we were like basically we had no other option to. Would it have been that worse to have a right back from La Fabrica? We were asking that last week and we're asking it again. So, but now it's too late for any of that. So I don't know. I guess like what did you think was wrong with Ancelotti's performance? How much of this do you think is on him?
I think if you're putting percentage on it, I'm going to say like 30, 40%, something like that, because he can't go on the field and play. I think another 40% goes to the front line. Terrible, in my opinion. Like, terrible game. I'm going to be harsh. Like, no, I was pissed. But yeah, like for people who say Ancelotti doesn't have tactics, no, he does have tactics. He just got the tactics wrong in this game.
Yeah.
I agreed with one of the pundits on ESPN FC after. I would have thought maybe just given the right back situation and just how Arsenal play, like how they're kind of like a carbon copy of Man City and like they like to control possession. If you want more numbers and control in midfield, I wouldn't have really been that frustrated if he doesn't start Rodrigo and he puts Brahim or I don't know who's the other player I'm thinking of. Sorry, I'm blanking on it. Oh no, it would have had to be Brahim because everyone else was injured. Yeah, if he starts Brahim and plays like a flat 4-4-2, I think that probably would have helped in the numerical advantage in the midfield and just to control possession. But he doesn't even have to start Brahim because again, one thing that we mentioned was take Valverde out of right back, put Alaba in Asensio's position, put Asensio in the right back, and play Fran, who maybe he hasn't had the best form, but at least it's a player who can play there and can give you a result. Yeah, I just think the tactics were wrong in the game given what was happening. But Carlos got games wrong before. Tell me which coach hasn't. Arteta's had plenty of games where he's gotten his tactics wrong. But yeah, on the set pieces, I'm not going to come here and say that I've like always praised Declan Rice. I haven't said it, but I'll say it now. Like I think out of all the Arsenal players, he's one that I've rated, and especially on the England side, I do like Declan Rice. I think he's a good player. I think he's a great box to box or defensive midfielder. I still question what his best position exactly is. I think he's better as a 6 or an 8 rather than a 6, so a little more forward. But yeah, like what is? I saw a post on Twitter. It was like, "Oh, this is why Courtois is overrated on like on both the things." And I'm like, first of all, before the first or the second goal, he makes like 3 saves back to back, and then on especially both goals, I'm like, what do you want him to do? Like be Mr. Fantastic and like just stretches like limbs an extra 2 feet? And the third goal, just like you mentioned, it was just scrambling, and Madrid were down. They were shot. So it
was shaping up to be a Courtois performance where he saves us and we score a scrappy goal and we basically smash and grab a 1-0. Like that's what it was shaping up to be before the free kicks. Like, and I think and any Arsenal fan would tell you that there was some real fear when like Courtois was making all the saves that he was. Okay, so you brought up the front line. I'll let you keep cooking. Vinny, Mbappe, and Rodrigo did not turn in the best performances. I do think the microscope and the focus is more on Vinny and Mbappe. But yeah, talk to me about what you felt. And
I just felt in the first half they looked better. I think still Arsenal controlled the game, especially in the second half. But the first half, it just looked like they were still the better team. I'm going to be harsh because, again, we're getting to that time of the season where it's knockout games. You need to win these games. And in all honesty, this is Real Madrid, and this is the quality of these players. Mbappe has to finish that chance. 30th minute, the one that
100%.
you have to finish that chance. I know it's a tight angle. I know defenders are closing on you. I know it's
But he's that kind of player. He's made those finishes before.
Exactly.
He could have done the Thierry Henry. That's what I was expecting, where he opens his body and kind of
exactly.
busts it into the.
Exactly. Just open your body a bit more. We've seen Vinny finish those. We've seen Rodrigo finish those. We've seen Mbappe finish those. I can keep going. I've seen Thierry Henry, everybody, players who finish those. You have to finish that away from home, especially when it's against the run of play. And the fact that it wasn't even like we didn't even get a rebound from it or anything like that, just straight at the keeper. No, I'm sorry. But yeah, Vinny was poor. I think Rodrigo was probably the worst out of all of them. He just looked lost on the pitch. Yeah, I think Vinny was poor. But it's like pick your poison in my opinion. I think they were all bad.
At this point, we're like, it's like your kids all broke a law and we're just determining which law that was broken. Like, okay, this kid stole chocolate from the convenience store. This kid jaywalked. This kid tagged a school. Like, they're all bad. I guess the jaywalking is less bad, but you don't want your kid to be caught jaywalking or whatever.
Exactly.
It's all kind of the same.
Exactly. And like, we're disappointed parents are being like, we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
That's definitely how I feel. Yeah.
That's my mom when I came home and they failed my grade 8 math test. And she's like, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Oh, the worst.
You got to inject humor into things that are painful. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
But I thought Rodrigo looked lost and tough game. But yeah, any of the front line, just they didn't do the defensive work again. This is something Mbappe especially has had issues with, but it's creeping up again with Vinny and yes, with Rodrigo as well. We mentioned it again. I'll post the pictures of our chat back and forth. We both agreed that Camavinga and Jude were the best players on the pitch. If we were either one of them, we'd be absolutely fuming. Defense was good. I think they were fine. Valverde was wasted. Yeah,
I can't find again. I don't think Valverde had a bad game at right back. It's just that's not where his strengths are. I don't think that the center backs played poorly. Neither one of them were at fault for the fouls that happened. Could they have been Arsenal did threaten and a couple passes were getting back there, but I thought Asensio and Rudiger handled a lot of what they were tasked to handle pretty well. I heard some people saying that they didn't think Camavinga's performances was so good. I was surprised about that. Some people were quite negative, but I thought he had some pretty crucial tackles. He was winning the ball in the midfield. He was passing the ball well. And again, he at least showed an energy and a desire to crack it.
Exactly.
Jude
I'll
is
end
the
off
only
quick.
player.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. Yeah.
Sorry. I'll end off quick. Sorry. But I just want to finish this point before I forget. Yeah. I think of the defense, I just think Alaba was the one who Saka was kind of not for form. He just looked on ice a couple times. But yeah, I'll let you respond to this. I want to make this point, and it's something that's been kind of brewing in me for a little while now. I didn't really see this last season. And I think this season, obviously, because we're trying to fit in Mbappe and we lost Cruz and obviously Militao and Carvajal, and we've never cried injury, but I saw this and I think about it and I wonder, is Real Madrid in danger right now? Because we haven't really, especially in a lot of big games, dominated games the way we'd want or should to. We've kind of squeaked past some results. And yeah, Real Madrid does that. We come back, and that's part of the whole vibe in the club recently, and the remontadas and stuff like that. But I think it begs the question of whether we should be concerned that they're not dominating games outside of the ones that they should, like teams like Leganés and Alaves and etc. And no disrespect to Vallecano or whatever, but teams that they do rout. So it's a question of what's exactly wrong for me. Is it tactics? Is it Carlo? Is it we don't have that metronome? Is it the cohesiveness of the front three and they're not finding it? It does concern me because, again, I don't know. I don't remember if it was the CBS or the ESPN FC post-game thing. One of the pundits said that, and he was like, they don't really dominate games the way you'd want them to. And I think that's true. And I think that also goes back to the lack of signings. Listen, I think both of us appreciate the shrewd and free transfers of Mbappe and Trent and Rudiger and all these players, but it's like, man, for God's sake, we couldn't get one center back in the winter, even on a loan, or a right back. Craig Burley said this on ESPN FC. He was like, if Valverde's in the midfield, that complexion has changed so much.
100%.
But yeah, I'll end it off there. I just think that's a point that I've just been wrestling with.
Yeah, it's funny because like I have a dog, as I think as you've heard in this podcast before, barking in the background. So after the game, I obviously still had to walk my dog, and even today, you know, had to walk him in the morning before this podcast. Had to walk him twice yesterday, and a lot of what I was thinking about, honestly, was what I was going to say on this podcast, and wrestling with that exact question. And this is where Ancelotti is a victim of his own success last year to some respect, and the success that he's just had. Last year, Madrid were not expected to do as well as they did. They weren't expected to win what they did, but we did through some pretty great individual performances. We rode our luck a bit. We showed fighting spirit, and you know, people like Cruz, Joselu, they propelled us, right? I think that allowed Florentino and the board to be more stingy. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with good business, and I do applaud it. I do. Like, you look at what Barca has done and where they've put themselves in this hole because they were trying to chase the answer by throwing money at it, right? That's why Griezmann was there. That's why Dembele was there. That's why Lewandowski's there now. And they're spending money that they don't have. And I would never want Madrid to be in a situation where, like, we're selling off the naming rights to the stadium. We're selling off the VIP boxes for the next 20 years. Like, Spotify Camp Nou. Like that's embarrassing. Like, if you're a Barcelona fan, you have to think that's embarrassing because the Camp Nou is one of the most historic stadiums ever. It's like if instead of the San Siro, it was the Best Buy San Siro or like Crypto.com San Siro. Like, no one wants that. And if you're a fan of your team, you don't want that. So for me, I'm happy for the shrewd business, but it's like you're saying, we haven't pushed the boat out once, and not even pushed the boat out heavily. But like in this winter window, target a veteran center back or right back that you can just get for the end of the season, like a short-term deal, even if it's a year, just to have some replacements. The fact is, when we had Nacho, he was great, right? Like, if we have an injury in the middle, we'll put him there. If we have an injury on right back, he can do a job. Like, those are the players that are not stars but can just be solid, that you need to fill in those gaps. When you put a star like Valverde, like, because that's what he is, a star. He's one of the best midfielders on the world. He's severely underrated, and you can tell by the coverage after the fact. Every pundit that I've heard talk about the midfield, they spoke about how missed he was in there, because again, a point that I forgot to mention in the Villa PSG game, historically, Premier League teams have been able to blitz teams in Europe by being faster and stronger, and that gap is closing now. And that's what the difference was. Villa wasn't stronger or faster than PSG. PSG was just as athletic. They didn't have to just do it technically. Real Madrid have a player that is very fast, very strong, very athletic, and they had him on the right back instead of the midfield where the game was going to be decided. That is a tragedy, and it's a tragedy that's only coming home to roost because of the lack of investment in this squad. If we had a right back that we could deputize, if we had a center back that we could put in there and push Raul Asensio to right back. Is Raul Asensio the best at right back? No, but he's played there in the youth team. He knows how to play there. Like, we are calling him a Sergio Ramos regen for a reason. There's a chance that his best position is in the middle, but Sergio Ramos started out right, and he was successful out on the right. So all of this to say is, like, yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. If Valverde's in the middle, this game is a lot different. I'll say on the front three, yeah, they played poorly. And this is where, again, like, I'm going to make an analogy to basketball. So Phil Jackson is known as one of the best coaches because he won a lot of championships. I think sometimes people overlook Phil Jackson as a tactician in the NBA. What is true, though, is his biggest strength was kind of massaging the locker room. He worked with the egos, and he made sure everybody could be on the same page, and he knew what every individual player needed to get the best out of them. If you look at the teams he took over, a lot of the work for, like, setting up the team and how those players would end up playing was done before him. You know, he was an assistant on the Chicago Bulls. There was a different coach before him. And the Lakers, he took over from another coach before him. And if you look at the Lakers now, they have JJ Redick, someone who's really sharp, really smart as a tactician, has a clear idea of what he wants.
Especially on podcasts.
Yeah, especially on podcasts. And he's transmitting that to his players. Who did they have before that? They had a bunch of guys whose best calling card was like, they know the vibes. They can get the people kind of together. Like, honestly.
The vibe. Frank Vogel vibes.
Right. Ancelotti is a vibes guy. I'm not saying he's incapable of tactics, but at the end, he will always default to, look, like, this is my idea, but you interpret it the way that you want. When you have the ball at your feet, you're one of the best players in the world. I trust you. What we need now, because we have all these new pieces, because we've lost such integral pieces, we need the guy who is going to tell Thierry Henry, like Pep told him at Barcelona, you don't make this run inside anymore. You just make this run. And Thierry Henry's like, I'm the best at that. And he's like, yeah, but you're opening the space for him. And that doesn't mean that you're never going to get your chance to shine. It doesn't mean that you're not going to score your own goals. It just means that somebody has to sacrifice. And that's why the only player that can be mad at everybody on the pitch is Jude Bellingham. Because Jude is sacrificing everything. He's not getting the ball delivered to him when he's making those runs in the middle that he did last year. He's forced to play every position in the midfield because, again, like Luka Modric is aging. Camavinga is having to put out a ton of fires. And so it's just him. Like, he was the best player in defense, attack, and in the middle. Like, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. Jude was at his best last year when we allowed him to be up front. And how do we do that? By getting Valverde back in the midfield, by bringing some energy and some steel back there. All right, I could go on forever. Yeah, the front three were really disappointing. Vinny in particular for me, just because I don't know, losing the Ballon d'Or seems to have shaken him. And while I do believe that everybody in the locker room gets along well, I think they're all acutely aware now that Mbappe was Florentino's guy, and no one wants to just be the one to carry water. But Vinny was fine carrying water for Benzema, even though Benzema was negative about him. Vinny carried a lot of water for Benzema. He set Benzema up a lot. Vinny's got to carry some water again, because that's when you're at your best. Use your physical tools. You're fast. You're strong. You can take players on. We saw none of that. We saw a lot less fight. And Mbappe, again, I think we can win with this team. And to answer your question, yeah, it's a problem that we don't dominate games with these players that have all shown they can dominate games. But people got to start carrying water and being less focused on who's going to get on the end of the goal and more focused on just creating the chances for a goal. Because right now we're averaging like three good chances a game. And like, yeah, we have the players that could probably put away 3 good chances and we can win games. But that's not sustainable, especially when you get to play against better and better teams. All right. I was going to ask questions about Ancelotti and what's next, but maybe we'll save that for if they crash out. The last question that we have to answer is, Real Madrid, the Club of Miracles, the Bernabeu, 90 minutes is really long. Do you think we can do it?
I'll always believe. Like, I will always. I vividly remember the 2014, the first one against Atleti. Yeah. The La Decima. And I was at my friend's house and he's like, dude, like, it's done. And I was like, shut the fuck up with your negativity because we're still in this. It's 1-0. I just killed Ruben. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And then 2 minutes later, Sergio Ramos. Obviously, and then no one ever forgets the remontada. That was unreal. Like, I had no voice for like 2 days. Like, I was done. Like, I was absolutely done. Like, I was at a bar and they just had the game on, and like there was me and like 2 other Madrid fans, and like, but it was just like a regular bar downtown, and like people were just like, "What the fuck is going on?" So I will always believe this is obviously different. Even the remontada, I think we were 2 down. This one, it's 3. Arsenal at this point, they're probably just going to set up shop and be defensively secure.
See, that was I was going to ask you if you think they're going to do that, because I think if they do that, that's the wrong thing they should do. I think they should they should try to kill it off. But.
Yeah, you would think so, right? Because it's like history has shown that if you don't like kill them, which you would think 3-0 is enough to kill them, but I think like Arteta probably just says play it safe because they have been defensively strong and they can probably do it. I don't know if they get Gabriel back in time, but at the same time, like, shout out to Kivior. Great game from a guy who filled in. I thought he was really.
Gabriel's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you might be right. Actually, yeah, I think so. I haven't looked into the extent of the injury. I just knew it was bad. But
Timber, they might get back. I think
Timber, they might get back. I think. Well, Timber, no, Timber started. I think you're talking about Calafiori or
oh yeah, maybe.
yeah. But yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. Listen, we'll throw out all the '90s Rocky tropes. You know, it ain't over till it's over. It ain't over till I didn't hear no bell. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm a big Rocky fan. If you haven't noticed already.
Yeah, Rocky and Creed getting a mention.
Bro,
it's a big.
It's big. Stallone, Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I love Creed. I said that Creed is like an underrated sports movie when we were at CSF.
Huge.
And I got kind of laughed at a bit. I was like, I don't know. I think it's like really good.
And it's like, and people were like, oh, no, like, no, like you don't know shit. Anyway.
Some strong takes here about the franchise.
Yeah, no, like I have like sentimental connections to like Rocky because I grew up like watching him, my dad and brother and stuff. So it's also like when they were like, "Oh, Creed is not that." I'm like, shut the, like, don't give me no like goal, like whatever goal 1 and 2 or miracle and shit. Like it's get to anyway. If Madrid are gonna do it, listen, guys. Valverde is in the midfield.
Has to be.
Period. End of story. I don't care. I think another thing, given Martinelli hasn't been that good this year, Trossard played well, but given how he's not a pace merchant, I'm saying this, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this right now. Might be okay to put Vasquez there.
I was going to say the same thing.
I got to eat crow. You know what? It is what it is. I hold my hands up. If he comes in and puts in a shift and they start and they win, I'm saying it right now. I'm ordering, not an official because it's too expensive. I will order a Lucas Vasquez jersey.
You know what? I'm with you. I'll do the same. I'm with that. I'm with that.
I think Fran or Mendy.
I think they've
has to start.
That Mendy and Ceballos are out for next week.
Mendy. Okay, so
I don't know if it was from a reputable publication, but that's what I read.
Okay, so Fran has to start. I don't want no Alaba on the left side. If you want to go Rudiger, Alaba in the center pack pairing, just for experience and security, that's fine. I think either Asensio or Rudiger or Alaba and Rudiger is fine. And again, depending on how the midfield shapes up and who's in there, if Rodrigo needs to sit, then or listen, even Vinny. If someone needs to sit of the front three, so we have more control in the midfield, and we can get Valverde and Bellingham and either Tchouaméni or Camavinga or Modric or Brahim.
Camavinga can't play because he got.
Oh yeah, sorry. So Tchouaméni, I forgot about the thing. That was one thing we didn't really mention, but yeah. Anyway, he was frustrated.
It was stupid that he kicked the ball. Yeah. He was already out for the next game anyway, so I was like, "Who the fuck cares?" He
was frustrated. But yeah, whether it's Brahim, whether it's Arda, for God's sakes, whether it's Modric, I think we need a much better midfield setup. I think obviously if we set up tactically well, and yes, absolutely to Ruben's point, if Ancelotti, because for all the stuff we dog about Pep, and that whole scene that Ruben painted when Thierry Henry talks about it several times, he says he told me stay on the left side, and I went over to the other side because they were having fun and they were playing, and he's like, you don't cross this line. I did cross the line, and I scored a goal, and he took me off, and he's like, you listen to my tactics or you don't play. So, and obviously they won and it worked. So we need I think Ruben has said it before. I think it was after one of the Barcelona Clásicos where we got routed. We need tactics, guy. I think Ancelotti needs to come in and say, listen, Vinny's doing this. You guys are doing this. We got to set up. It's at the Bernabeu. Anything is possible. I will always believe. Yes, can they do it? If any team can do it, they can do it. Ask the pundits, even look at them. And when they were asking them, like, what percentage do you give? It's like, bro, 80-20 Arsenal. Hey, 20% is still not zero. So
I don't think
still take
teams would be getting 20%.
No. The realist in me, do I really, really think it's happening? Probably not. I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
But let's wait and see. And you know what? Credit to Arsenal. They played a great first game. Credit to Arteta. A little bit of a weird dude. If you watch the All or Nothing on ESPN on
the brain and
Amazon,
the heart, the brain and the heart.
The light bulb.
I was like, the light bulb. Yeah, the light bulb's a good one too.
What the fuck is this guy? Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's possible. I believe. We always believe.
We're at about an hour, so I'll echo some of it and give my thoughts real quick. I also believe the realist in me struggles to see how we could score 3 goals without surrendering one the other way, just the way that we've been playing. But I do think there's a possibility. Arsenal don't have a history in European competition to draw on. This is still a young team. If Real Madrid score first early, if we get a goal within the first 30 minutes and we don't give one back, if we go into half, even just up 1-0, that second half gets a lot tighter. That second half gets a lot more nervous. The Bernabeu will be loud. It'll be a pressure cooker. I hope Ancelotti, again, I'm with you. Vasquez, if not Vasquez, then Asensio. So either it's going to be Vasquez, Asensio, Rudiger, or Vasquez, Rudiger, Alaba. But I do not want Valverde anywhere near there. Like, I do not. On the left, yeah, I think you have to start Fran. Like, I do. Unless, again, if you start Vasquez and you want Asensio, but again, I don't know. Saka left the other game. He may not be 100%, but I don't think Alaba versus Saka is like something we should invite onto ourselves more and more. Like, you need someone with pace. In the middle, again, I think playing the flat 4-4-2 might be the way to go. Like, Jude at the tip of the diamond, Brahim, Valverde, however you want to place them, and then
Tchouaméni, Modric, Garda, Brahim, Arda, whatever. Yep.
And then I would put Vinicius and Mbappe up front. Or again, if you want to be crazy, Vinicius and Rodrigo, or Mbappe and Rodrigo. I don't care, but I do think if you're gonna play with the if you're gonna play with the front three altogether, you have to have Valverde in the midfield. But I think the best way to do is the 4-4-2. Hey, there's always a chance. Look,
listen, Real Madrid have been in a worse situation. Do you remember a few years ago against Dortmund when Lewandowski went off and they were down 4-0? Watch the highlights of that game, because that's a game that I watch just every so often. I like to punish myself. I don't know, but Ramos scores 2. And it's close. But I swear to God, if Ozil and Higuain, and I think Ronaldo as well, can just hit the broadside of a barn door, that game is tied.
Higuain is no.
Higuain, don't even get me started on Higuain.
Messi a World Cup back.
Oh my God!
Too. He was. He could not finish his food at the best of times. But yeah. Hey, look, we'll always have belief. If it happens, oh my God, the pod after that's gonna be crazy. The pod after that will be crazy. It'll. So yeah, I hope Ancelotti has his best Rocky speech. I hope he has his best. Any given Sunday speech, because look, he's got to know. All the reports are saying if he doesn't win that game, his job is basically cooked. And I think even if he does win that game, Madrid might move on in the summer. So he's literally just got to be like, look, guys, you may be getting tired of me and my vibes, but we got one last ride, baby. Let's just finish this shit out, and hopefully we see some pride. I will say. Jude in the post game obviously showed some frustration. He said that this is like a trend that they've played poorly before. Fair. But he also kind of was like, they still got to come back to ours. Hey, man. Jude Bellingham, 95th minute winner to win 4-0. Who says no? Who says no?
Can it just be next Wednesday already?
Yeah, I know. I know. It's the hope that kills you. But anyways, bit of a long episode, but we got into a lot of Champions League thing. Again, I don't think we're going to touch much on the Premier League, just because Champions League is so exciting. Maybe when there's less even when there's less Champions League game, I feel like more fun to do a deep dive on those. But if something does happen in the Prem, like Emirates gets fired or someone kills somebody on the pitch or something, we'll definitely touch on it.
Yeah,
those are the only. Or
we'll try and record maybe one more. Yeah,
whenever Ange gets
sacked. Oh my God!
Yeah, hey, they're playing a big game today against Frankfurt. His job is definitely in the balance. So.
Yeah, I think we'll wait till some results come out, and maybe we'll record another one or try to just for content purposes. Just have some stuff going on. But yeah, obviously Champions League is the main talking point right now.
But yeah, we'll see you again next week. Where we'll hopefully be celebrating a Real Madrid win. Or who knows, but it's been a pleasure. We're gonna keep pumping out content. I think we're getting into a groove of being more consistent, which is nice. So hopefully you guys keep enjoying it.
Yep. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Share it with your family. And yeah, if Real Madrid don't win, we're gonna take 2 weeks off.
That's exactly right.
See you later.